Hello everyone. I want to start this episode with a strange thought. What if men got periods? No, seriously. Imagine if every month half the world suddenly experienced pain, hormonal fluctuations, mood shifts, exhaustion, bloating, and cravings so unpredictable they could interrupt work, sleep, and everyday life. Do you think we would still call it just mood swings? Or would there be research labs working overtime, emergency hotlines, paid recovery leaves, and even apps quietly reminding everyone to be more understanding? Interesting thought, right? Well, welcome back to AI Meets Medicine, the podcast where we explore how artificial intelligence is quietly reshaping the future of healthcare. I am Kuhu Chandna, and this is episode number 4. So today, we are talking about something deeply personal, widely experienced, and yet still not fully understood. Women's health. Because women's health lives in a strange space. It shapes families, generations, and everyday life. And yet, so much of it still gets misunderstood or delayed in understanding. Not because the body stays silent, but because it rarely speaks in obvious ways. It whispers through fatigue that sleep does not fix, cycles that suddenly feel unfamiliar, pain that cannot always be explained, changes that feel small until they are not. And maybe the real challenge has never been that the body does not speak. It's that we haven't always known how to listen. But that is starting to change because now, hidden inside patterns, scans, hormones, sleep data, and thousands of small biological signals, artificial intelligence is beginning to connect what we once struggled to see, helping detect hormonal imbalance earlier, recognizing PCOS patterns faster, supporting earlier cancer detection, and improving fertility care for those holding on to hope. So, let's explore what happens when technology finally begins to understand women's health a little better. And perhaps the best place to begin is with something invisible, incredibly powerful, and somehow blamed for almost everything: hormones. Honestly, at this point, hormones have probably been blamed for more things than bad internet. Feeling emotional? Hormones. Skin suddenly breaking out right before an important event? Hormones. Crying over a random animal video? Apparently also hormones. But jokes aside, what people casually call hormonal imbalance is actually far more real and far more complicated too. Because hormones are basically the body's internal messengers. These are tiny chemical signals constantly working behind the scenes, regulating sleep, mood, metabolism, energy, stress, menstrual cycles, reproductive health, and whatnot. In simple terms, making sure the body functions the way it should. And when that communication changes, even slightly, the body notices. And here is what makes hormonal imbalance frustrating. The signs rarely arrive dramatically. Instead, it happens quietly. A little fatigue here, mood changes there, cycle irregularities somewhere else. Individually, easy to dismiss, but together, they tell a story. And this is where things get genuinely fascinating. Because this is not just medicine anymore. This is AI meeting medicine. See, doctors are incredibly skilled at understanding symptoms, but humans naturally process information piece by piece. AI does something different. It connects what looks disconnected. Imagine analyzing years of menstrual cycles, hormone reports, sleep patterns, stress levels, wearable health data, symptom tracking, even metabolism changes, all at once. This is where AI becomes powerful. Because sometimes the body leaves clues long before a diagnosis happens. Tiny clues, subtle patterns, easy to miss individually, but powerful once connected. Today, researchers are training AI systems to identify early signs of hormonal disorders by studying menstrual irregularities, hormone levels, sleep disruption, and metabolic patterns. And this is already becoming real. Some women's health apps now use machine learning to recognize unusual cycle behavior and flag when something may not be normal. Meaning, technology is helping women see cancers earlier. Now, if there is one condition that has somehow become part of everyday conversation, it is probably this PCOS. At this point, almost every girl either knows someone with PCOS, has searched it online, or has randomly convinced herself she has it. And honestly, considering how common it is today, that fear is not entirely unreasonable. Because PCOS, short for polycystic ovary syndrome, affects millions of women worldwide. But here is what makes it confusing. PCOS does not always look the same. For one person, it may mean irregular periods. For someone else, it could be persistent acne, unexpected weight gain, hair loss, difficulty conceiving, or simply feeling like your body has suddenly stopped cooperating. And that is exactly what makes PCOS so difficult to catch early. Because it does not follow one clear pattern. It changes from person to person over time. This is where understanding PCOS starts to shift with the help of AI. Diagnosing PCOS is complicated. There is no single test that can simply say, yes, this is PCOS. Doctors usually have to piece things together through hormone levels, ultrasound scans, menstrual history, insulin resistance, and symptoms that can look completely different from person to person, which means diagnosis can sometimes take months or even years. But AI is changing something important. It helps doctors see patterns faster. One of the most exciting areas is ultrasound imaging. Normally, doctors carefully study ovarian scans to look for signs linked to PCOS. But AI systems are now being trained to analyze thousands of these scans and recognize tiny visual patterns much more quickly, helping doctors spot things that may otherwise take longer to notice. AI also combines menstrual cycle history, hormonal reports, metabolic changes, lifestyle information, and symptom tracking to help doctors understand not just whether someone may have PCOS or not, but sometimes even what type of treatment or support might work better for them. Because here is something many people do not realize. PCOS is not one size fits all. For some women, insulin resistance becomes the bigger challenge. For others, hormones. For some, fertility struggles. Which means personalized care matters. And this is where AI is excelling and making a real difference. Not replacing doctors, but helping women spend less time confused and more time understood. Now, there is one word that changes the mood of almost any conversation instantly. Cancer. Even hearing the word feels heavy because cancer is not just a diagnosis. It is fear, uncertainty, waiting rooms, second opinions, phone calls no one wants to receive. The scariest thing about cancer is it does not always arrive loudly. It grows quietly, long before symptoms become obvious, which is exactly why early detection matters so much. And in women's health, there are few cancers that deserve special attention. Let us start with breast cancer, a cancer that develops in breast tissue and is one of the most common cancers affecting women worldwide. Then there is cervical cancer, cancer of the cervix, often linked to HPV infection and thankfully one of the few cancers that can often be prevented or caught early through screening. And then ovarian cancer, often called as the silent cancer because symptoms like bloating, stomach discomfort, or fatigue can feel so ordinary that they are easy to ignore. Now here is where AI enters the picture. Imagine being doctor studying hundreds of scans every day. Tiny details, tiny abnormalities, hours of concentration. Humans are brilliant, but humans also get tired, while AI does not. Today, AI systems are being trained on enormous amounts of medical data: mammograms, cervical screening images, scans, medical histories, and even genetic patterns, learning what tiny warning signs may look like. Not making decisions alone, but helping doctors notice things faster, and sometimes earlier too. For breast cancer, AI can help analyze mammograms and highlight suspicious areas that may need a closer look. For cervical cancer, AI helps screen abnormal cell changes faster and more accurately. And for ovarian cancer, where symptoms are often vague, researchers are exploring how AI can combine scans, blood markers, genetics, and symptom history to identify hidden risks earlier. This small shift may save more lives than we realize, because when it comes to cancer, sometimes the biggest advantage is simply time. And finally, let us talk about something that is rarely discussed openly, yet deeply personal for so many people: fertility struggles. Because for some, pregnancy happens naturally. For others, it becomes a journey filled with waiting, questions, hope, disappointment, and sometimes heartbreak. What many people do not realize is that infertility is not rare. It can be linked to hormonal conditions such as PCOS, ovulation disorders, endometriosis, age related changes, sperm health, stress, or medical complications. And sometimes, even after multiple tests, there is no clear explanation at all. And that uncertainty can be the hardest part. Because imagine wanting something so deeply and not knowing why it is not happening. And this is where AI is quietly changing fertility care by making the process more precise and more informed. For example, take IVF, in vitro fertilization, where fertilization happens outside the body and embryos are later transferred into the uterus. One of the most critical steps in this process is selecting the right embryo with the highest chance of successful implantation. And this is where AI is becoming surprisingly useful. By analyzing thousands of embryo images, growth patterns, and past treatment outcomes, AI systems can help doctors identify embryos that may have a better chance of leading to a healthy pregnancy. And it does not stop there. AI is also being used to improve ovulation prediction, personalize fertility treatments, and study factors that influence pregnancy success in more detail than before. Which means fertility care is slowly shifting from trial and error decisions to more data informed choices. And that matters because fertility struggles are not just medical, they are emotional, mental, and deeply personal. Often invisible to everyone else, but very real for the person going through it. So, if technology can reduce uncertainty, even slightly, it can make a meaningful difference. Because behind every appointment, every scan, every treatment cycle, there is usually one thing holding everything together, and that is hope. And maybe one of the most powerful things AI can do in medicine is not just improve outcomes, but protect that hope. As we reach the end of this episode, I don't want to leave you with a summary. I want to leave you with a shift in perspective. We usually think medicine happens inside hospitals, but a lot of it begins much earlier, in patterns, silence, and small changes we often miss, somewhere between what the body is trying to say and what we manage to understand. Artificial intelligence doesn't replace that space. It helps us see it more clearly. Not everything becomes obvious, but fewer things get overlooked. And sometimes that is enough to change everything. Thank you so much for listening to AI Meets Medicine. I'll be back with another interesting conversation in the next episode. Until then, stay tuned.